Alright, so hopefully you ended on something like this. I actually removed the the reverse direction for the back right motor because we're not using the back right motor. But you can see upon initialization, it'll reverse the direction of the front right motor, and then as soon as you hit initialize, after it's waited for the start of the program, then it will set the power of the motors to 1. It'll go for a certain amount of time. I had to do a whole bunch of testing of this to see. It's like, oh well, maybe if I add 100 milliseconds or something like that, then it'll get to the correct time. So I just did a lot of fiddling around with that, and then at the end, just calling the motor powers to go to 0, and then just waiting for the program to end. So this is kind of what I have here. Hopefully you're able to get this first section. One last thing I would like to mention is that you should probably save your program after you do it. I'm naming mine lesson 1, but you can name it whatever, and it'll save in this drop down here so you can always go back to it and be able to get back to it. And then you can quickly just hit the save button and it will just save what you have currently for the lesson. Now another quick thing that I would also like to mention is that for some debugging and trying to figure out how the code works or how you want the code to work, a useful technique to use is to use this telemetry down here. So you can see if I do this call telemetry.addData key and then the number 123, you can output whatever, including some text. But you also need the call telemetry.update, and so then one useful application for it is just checking whenever this runs. So whenever it gets and stops here, I want it to output just the key and number. So you can see once it gets there, it will output the key and the number. And then after a second, it will say program end. So kind of a useful thing for that is like saying, oh, well, is code out here going to run? And so you can just hit initialize, and you can see that it'll never say key 123 because the code doesn't get executed there. So you may not probably need it right now because it's a simple just running straight through the code, but if you get to some more advanced logic using like the logic blocks here, then it may be useful to see which set of logic is running or things like that, especially for more complicated programs where, like, say you want to see the specific number that a variable has, which we'll get into later. Because we'll be going on to 4 motors here.